All right, and we'll pause it right there. Hey, Birdie Wooster, we're starting early today, so I'm not sure who of the regulars are able to make it. I definitely received 2 emails from people saying that they could not attend. So I'm just curious. Let's see. Is my audio working? Do you hear that okay? Before I go any deeper into the live stream today, I'll kind of wait until I hear. The opening piece was a performance that I looked for actually on YouTube, but I don't think it's there. But this is on the social media on Instagram for Cinema. You can find them here. You can still see it. Okay, hey Mike Siaka, that's great. And it's 2 very, very famous and wonderful accordionists of the, not the youngest generation, but a younger generation. Felicien Brut, or Bru, I guess you say, on the right here. We've watched him on the live stream, and famously, he was part of the opening celebration of the Paris Olympics. And he was on the bridge playing Sous le ciel de Paris, and he had these angel wings, really incredible. And yeah, he's phenomenal. I had the pleasure to see him perform live with a really interesting performance reading of the memoirs of a 80s, I guess, Parisian socialite named Michaud. Anyway, that was really neat. And he's incredible. And he is a student, or he has a former student of Nathalie Bouchek's and Jacques Mornay at the Cinema School. And then to his right, or our left, is Vincent Le Hermé. That's my best pronunciation I can do. Stutter not intended there. Who's phenomenal. I believe Jacques told me like he is one of the people, if you want to, specifically Rameau, the French Baroque composer from the 1700s. If you want to hear Rameau played with like extreme beauty and artistry and also very, very well informed, check out Vincent, and that's who the other musician is here. So that's the opening thing. There's a lot to cover on this live stream, so I'm gonna get into it. I'm a little nervous, but I have some stuff written out, and nothing is changing differently on the live stream, except for maybe a little bit of the rapper and what I bonjour Courtney. I hope you're safe in Portland with the Army of the United States out there intimidating all of you. So the only thing that's a little different is what I'm about to say, and it's not going to change the frequency of the live streams or really the content of the live streams. It's not going to change anything that I'm doing. But we're living in a very strange time in the United States, and so here I go. So let's see. The first thing is I want to remind you guys all that I do have a mailing list, and it's right here. My website is called risingreed.com. Rising, like coming up, and read, like the reed of an accordion. .com, and then slash email. And if you're watching this and you're not on my email list, I might suggest that you do, because there's the possibility for creators to get deplatformed. And as I talk more about current events, that's a possibility that's in my mind. So if I suddenly disappear from YouTube or any of these platforms, Facebook or whatever, and you want to find me again, I'm out there. So go to Rising Read. Um, this is maybe sounding a little bit dramatic, but it's on my mind. So let's see. Here's some stuff that I prepared to read here. So as I talk more about current events, which I'm doing today in this live stream, I'm going to be more scrutinized by people for whom they don't share my viewpoint on things, and that frequently for people who talk, you know, on the internet can be attacks to try to get them removed. So that's a possibility that's on my mind. So anyways, if that does happen, I'll find a new place to talk and share and do all kinds of fun accordion stuff. And the best place to learn about it, if I'm no longer on these things, if that point should come, is through my website. So that's why I'm promoting this. Some other stuff that I want to say is I do this live stream because I get to learn really cool things. And in fact, the reason why I do this live stream, this idea came to me during the pandemic, 2020, when I was watching a live streamer named Hassan Abi, or Piker is his real last name. And he talks about leftist ideas, some socialism ideas and stuff like that. And he covers current events. And the way he does it, I had never seen anything like that because I'm not a gamer, so I don't watch other kinds of streaming. But it was a time when we were all glued to the news and to our sort of interpretive, the people who help us understand the news and ideas and stuff like that. And and he had this format where he would pull up CNN's website and play the video, and then he would talk about it, and then he'd go to like some social media video and pull that up and watch that, and then go to YouTube and put. And I thought, and he was doing it live with an audience, and his audience is humongous, like 50,000 people sometimes, at once watching live, which is nowhere near the biggest, most popular streamers on like that do video game streaming or other content streaming. There are many more thousands of people, and many more tens of thousands of people. But anyways, this is a little full circle because I never intended to talk about current events and topics like this at all. But now it doesn't seem like I can. The place that I've arrived at on the live stream doesn't seem like there's any way to really avoid it for my own heart. So anyway, so I do this live stream because I could share really cool things, things that I find. It allows me to do a little bit of teaching, which is fun. I can share you things that I like, that I found, like I'm going to today. I can play for you and show you things I'm working on, and we can learn together. It encourages me to be a little bit more scholarly in my approach because this is out to the internet forever, and I don't want to seem like a total idiot. So it encourages me to dig a little bit further, to finish a book, or to try to do a better collection. So I'm learning along with you. And as I've done this, I've developed, there's always been like a community around my teaching, which I've done for years and years. But now there's a community around this live stream. And I hear all the time, oh, I don't get to catch you live, but I watch the recordings, and that's great. So I think because of that, and because of the circumstances happening in our country right now, I feel more of a necessity to speak my truth because I think things are affecting all of us in ways that are very, very, very important. And this is a time that we need to come together. And I want you to know that, like, I think a way to come together, one of the many, many ways, and probably not the most important way, but a way, is through here. So if you sort of agree with my viewpoint, then you feel like you're together with me and the other people that are watching this. And that gives us a feeling of strength and a little bit more safety, and hopefully maybe motivation to protect ourselves and keep moving things in ways that protect us all. And one of the things that has happened is that this live stream has, because of various things over the years, I think I've done this for like 3 years now, with some major breaks because of my personal life things, but is learning about culture and people. And in the process of learning about culture and people, it's kind of impossible to look at the art and history and music of people and not have some deeper understanding and compassion, which impacts, how you see and understand, especially people that we don't have immediate contact with, right? Things and cultures that we might not come into contact with, that we only hear about through a very like sort of one view of that culture, if that at all, and this brings us a much broader understanding. Um, and let's see, I'm gonna skip that part. Yeah, okay. All right, so I have more to say, but I want to state this thing that I've said on the last few live streams that I've sat down and wrote out today. So I want to tell you these are the things that I believe and that are important to my view of the live stream. Before all the live streams, I've felt this way. This is the way I feel in my life, and I want to state that more again for the reasons I just mentioned. So this live stream is pro accordion. Woo! We're pro musicians' rights and musicians' representation. We're pro educators' rights and representation for educators. We're very pro LGBTQIA+. We're pro gender equality. We're pro feminist. We're pro democracy and political plurality. We're pro immigrant and we're pro immigration. This live stream is. We are anti-fascist. We're anti-white supremacist. We're anti-war. We're anti-genocide of the Palestinian people, which is a very divisive issue for some people. We are pro-public funding for the arts. We're pro-public education, and we're pro-educators, and we're also pro-academia, of which there is an attack on right now. Some of my friends that I went to high school that I reconnected, one in particular is an academic and a university professor. We're pro-university. We're pro-junior college. We're pro-education in general. For me, this is a wonderful, I'm not a natural reader, and I know it's really good for me and to try to read things that are more challenging. This live stream gives me a wonderful opportunity to like kind of metabolize and think about all that more. So we're pro like, thinking about new ideas, discussing, thinking critically, bringing a skeptical mind. And I want you to know if any of these ideas that I just said are provocative to you, I still will teach you accordion lessons. You're still invited to take all of my classes, to be on this, to watch this live stream, and to enjoy and be enriched by all the cool stuff that I share. You're still welcome here. But I will not be silent about these things, because it's a time for us to stand up more and protect. And there are musicians that we've learned about on our live streams that have done that, such as Pablo Casals, who we will talk about. So the main mission of this live stream, I got a text, let me just check. The main mission of this live stream and of my upcoming podcast is to learn about accordion, to learn about music and musical ideas, artistic expression, beauty, creativity, harmony, touch on the accordion, all that sort of stuff, different rhythms. And a few years ago, I found unintentionally an additional like sort of mission or impulse, which was to learn about the cultures and musics made on diatonic accordions. It was sort of like I don't know, it's like an idea that was like, I was like, you know what? Like, I don't know anything about these musics. Like, I don't have friends that play them. I'm not really interested in trying to learn to play a diatonic accordion, but it's everywhere. And like, when I think about like that, let's see. When I think about these, like the major push toward this idea about learning about the musics of diatonic accordions, specifically from the Southern Hemisphere, the Southern Western Hemisphere. So Mexico, Central America, South America, and the Latin Caribbean. I'm not sure if the Latin Caribbean is technically in the Southern Hemisphere, but Spanish-speaking, Portuguese-speaking languages of the Southern Hemisphere. Because so many of those cultures have immigrated to the United States and they're around us. And so, as I've said, and I said on a nonprofit meeting a couple years ago, if I ever leave my house and hear accordion music being blasted with joy and passion around me, that music is from the Dominican Republic or Puerto Rico, always. Like, I never hear I don't hear American polka. I don't hear French musette or anything outside of my community. That's what I hear. And so it just became like sort of an obvious thing, like, well, why don't I know much about these? And there are a few reasons for it, you know. One is the instrument is very different. The way the diatonic accordion works and even how it's approached is very different. And the other reason is cultural differences and language differences. Those felt like things that I wanted to learn more about. And it felt really like when I talk about, when I have an accordion live stream, it's weird. It didn't feel right to think accordion. I say the word accordion, but it really only means chromatic accordions that have a piano on one side, or chromatic accordions that have a button on one side and that play music, you know, either from like Western, like, I think you know where I'm going. So I just sort of had that idea, like, I'm realizing my own ignorance in the purest interpretation of that word. And I was interested to learn more myself, and also to sort of be one little point of culture to say, hey, let's either like stop using the word accordion as a blanket term and excluding all of these things, right? So it's like, if an accordion organization really doesn't want to interact with any populations of diatonic accordion musicians, then say that, state that, be self-aware enough to know that, like, this is, you know, this is really what it is. And I specifically am thinking of the ATG and the AAA. And I don't blame them, because their membership doesn't have has very few of those people who play those music. So like, I get it. But at the same time, it's like, how are you going to get any? Or like, how can you claim to help all accordionists if it's really only piano accordion and chromatic button accordion? And again, there's nothing wrong with that. And that's the kind of music that I play. But I want to learn more about the world, and accordion, you know, it's our cousin instrument, the diatonic accordion. So anyway, so that kind of experience on a meeting got me thinking of this idea, which then got me thinking, like, well, use the live stream to do that. So then there was a large period a couple of years ago, maybe even 3 years ago, where basically every week or thereabouts, I would choose another region or country and try to dig into the accordion music that is from that area. And that was so fun. And it felt like sort of like, I don't know, like a radio show, you know? Um, I'm not going to say musicology, because this is definitely not what I'm doing. I don't have the time. Um, but anyway, that's so interesting. And let me go to my notes here. So doing many of those sort of led me to be like, okay, like, let's learn about, you know, the musicians that play it, the music genres that happen, the sort of melodies and famous songs and famous musicians from those, and rhythms, and maybe other things around it, like how do you dance to it, you know, and all sort of that thing. And that also in the process is just, we're learning more about these other cultures, which again brings us more on a point of connection, you know, a thread of connection to people who are different from us, in an age of right now, in an age of like, where the dominant narrative from our federal government is explicitly anti-immigrant, especially anti-immigrant if you have brown skin and you're from the global south. And that just doesn't make any sense to me. I don't buy into those narratives around that. It doesn't make any sense. It feels just honestly racist. And so I can do both things. So I can be like anti-racist. I can be a point of community for people who feel like me. And also we can learn about these other cultures, which are beautiful, beautiful people, beautiful music's interesting. It's great to learn. So this is how I sort of see a cool thing in my life, of which I believe that I only have one life in this body, in this brain. And I want to do the things, you know, that my instinct and my gut and my heart tell me are the good and right things to do. I realize that there are people listening to this that are turned off by this, that do not share these values, that this is provocative to you. And I realize that this is a risk that I'm taking to potentially lose clients, customers. I mean, I have to pay my bills. You wouldn't believe, you know, the millionaire that I've become teaching accordion online, let me tell you. But still, so there are risks, and then just risks of being a target online is a fear I have. You know, you hear these horror stories of more famous people that stream online, but horrible things happening to them, and I don't want that to happen to me either, but that's a fear that I have, you know. So like it's important for me to say all this because I intend to just speak my truth more and add some more framing and editorial stuff around the things that we do here on this stream, because so many people in the United States now are in danger, and are, I think, very, very certainly our rights of democracy, our rights to have equality and privileges, you know, of being in this first world nation are very at risk for many, many people. And I think I could be next, you know, and so could you. So that is the sort of summation of this thing. I intend to begin future live streams with some more succinct but similar um, sort of introduction about what I'm for and what I'm not for. Um, and that's sort of all I wanted to say about this. So now, I thought it would be cool and interesting for me to try to include some segment now on like current events happening, stuff like that. So that's the end of that. There are no more comments that I see. Um, so we're gonna get into sort of news and updates. Will be first. I want to include news about, you know, the news for musicians, news for educators, news, cultural news, stuff like that. I don't have very much of that today. I do want to wish everybody that celebrated last week's Yom Kippur, Gimar Shanti Ma Tova. That's my best phonetic pronunciation to you. And this week's Sukkot. And again, in the spirit of learning about people that we might not have direct connection with their culture. So I thought it would be fun, for me at least, and hopefully for you guys too, to learn a little bit. So we're just going to watch two very short videos. Copy link. Here we go. About what is Sukkot, because I know the names of other Jewish holidays and a little bit about them, but not this one. So here's one short video. Hopefully this loads. This is Rabbi Yisorel Goldstein.
What is the holiday of Sukkot, otherwise known as the Tabernacles? You may have noticed if you have visited Israel around these days, or if you live in a Jewish neighborhood, you'll see these huts that are being built on the porches, on the yards of the homes. You wonder, what are these huts? What's it all about? This is the holiday of Sukkot, one of the three major Jewish holidays. This holiday, we leave our home and we go into these huts that are built with at least 3 walls and a roof of natural materials such as bamboo, evergreens, or palm branches. We sit in these huts to remind us what happened in the days when we left Egypt on the way to Israel, how God protected us. And we spent 40 years in the desert and we were protected by the clouds of glory, and God provided us with everything. We live this 7 days every single year so we don't forget God's kindness, God's protection for us. Times of joy. What is the holiday?
Okay, and I have one more. And I think this person is in Israel, I think.
Hello everyone, Shalom from our Sukkah. We're going to celebrate the Feast of Tabernacle, in Hebrew Sukkot. Why? Because of this building that's called Sukkah. Represents the houses of the people of Israel when they left Egypt. They used to live in this kind of thing, Sukkah. And also it represents a lot of secrets of the cover of God. The word Sukkah comes also from the word schach, and this is like the roof of this building. We're going to live here, we are sleeping here, we eat here, we learn Torah here, we spend all of the next few days here. One of the secrets of the Sukkah.
Okay. So, Gimar Chantima Tova to all of you. I thought that was really fascinating. I did not know about that holiday. Okay, so now on to the next topic here. Thanks, Mike Siaka says it's an important message to hear my mission statements. I appreciate that. And Ed in the chat, this is great. Thanks, Ed. The chat enlivens me. I love when you all chat. Everyone that's watching, you know, I realize a lot of people tell me they put this on while they go do stuff like yard work or cooking or cleaning the house or whatever. So I don't expect everyone to, but I just want you to know I love the chat. It makes me feel like I'm part of a community. Ed says a book he's reading is related to our current events and my intro today. It's Sarah Wynne Williams, 2025, Careless People, A Cautionary Tale of Power, Greed, and Lost Idealism. Ed, that's fascinating. The author is a lawyer from New Zealand who was an executive at Facebook until she got fired. Nothing about music or accordions, but it helps explain a part of the internet culture. That's fascinating. I'll be interested to follow up with you and hear more about that. Next on the stream, I was going to talk about an update of what I've been into. And last week on the stream, I talked about being interested in different freebase systems. And I spent a lot of time on this website called Search Tempest, which is kind of tedious, but it's a neat website. It used to only search all of the Craigslists in the country, and now it also searched all of the Facebook marketplaces in the country. You just have to click, because Facebook Marketplace, you can only search 500-mile circle around a particular area. It has to break the United States up into sections of 500 miles. But you can take your search term and then much more quickly and efficiently look. And so I spent way too much time just trying to find what was out there. And what happened was I thought about it a lot and I slept about it a lot. And I said, well, keep playing the Machino, which I have not played very much. And so I've been having a lot of fun. And also, I'm going to talk about this in a second, but I'm really into all this galant music and partimento. And I wanted to share a little bit of what I've been doing. When I do these kind of live streams, like where I have to prepare stuff, it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time even to do like the kind of mediocre job that I do. Thank you, Courtney. And Courtney says yes. He wants to affirm my declaration, my mission statement, and my mission statement for myself. And Courtney says that one great aspect of this live stream, I appreciate that, Courtney, is that I'm speaking my truth and being who I am. Thanks very much, Courtney. Okay, so I've been playing more Machino. Let's see, I have to hold the more Machino accordion. Hopefully you guys can hear this. And I haven't played any Machino yet today. So I've been trying to improvise. We're making a Halloween party invitation, and I'm going to compose a little, a very, very simple sort of mostly improvised little piece for it. And I was just thinking about improvising what could be creepy, you know. And then, you know, no, I don't want that sus chord. I want an augmented chord. You know, I don't know. So sort of fun stuff. I've been trying to be a lot more free in my improvisation. So taking pieces. This one that I've played many times. And just find places to improvise. And different... I don't know, different things. To get just play with more things. I think a lot about, one of the things I think about is I've found my way to some really beautiful voicings, chord voicings on the Machino, which a lot of them are root, third, and seventh, which is very common. But I can look how comfortable my hand is. I mean, I'm not crazy spread out. And then what's his name? George Secor showed me the perfect fourths here that you can play with one finger. So I do that a lot. And these are all root plus third and seventh. There are some other bigger voicing. Right? That kind of stuff that I play around with. But then other shapes, like just really amazing things that sound so good. If I just play some fourths in a scale. That already sounds cool coming out of this instrument. Then let me add one note. I came on that, or here, or here. Maybe. Or here. I don't know. Just small things and moving in parallel motion, trying to get my left hand to do some really cool and clean runs, which it's not very good at all yet. I want to show you guys a couple more things that I'm working on. And Ed puts a comment. Ed's been shedding a lot of really amazing free bass stuff lately. Let's see. Let me find the stuff I've been working on up here. Okay, so Flores Negras. So this is an amazingly beautiful arrangement by Astor Piazzolla of this song. He didn't compose the song, but this is his bandoneon arrangement that he performs. There's a recording of this, a studio record. And he does this amazing vibrato the whole time, which is I don't have yet. Michael Bridge, I asked Michael Bridge quickly like how he might do it on a piano or a chromatic button accordion, and he said he would try to wiggle his right leg a little. So I was working on that, but let me just play a little bit of this. Are you guys seeing that? Let's see. Yeah, you see that. So it's just so gorgeous, and it's something that I want to not only learn to play this way, but I want to make some exercises because the way he has harmonized stuff, the arrangement is unbelievable. Let's see. Sorry. My bad. Sorry, guys. Here. And I'm not playing it perfectly, so I'll stop there. But just these incredible, like this, it's not incredible, but it's so beautiful. And I don't know any other vocabulary to find this stuff coming out of a free reed instrument. I haven't seen any Russian or French, free bass C or B system stuff that does specifically this. There's many, many other things. But to harmonize, this looks like when I took like big band writing class in college, and the way you drop you write for a big band saxophone section or something. So here's the melody. That's the melody. And then it's essentially, he created, this line, which is walking. It's something very simple. It's on E major. That's all. I mean, that's like the blues. Right? But it's happening in parallel in the left hand. Right? With the melody. Like, so it's very educational for me, and I think it's just so beautiful what goes in the right hand, what goes in the left hand. Sometimes it's 2 notes here, 2 notes there, 3 notes in the left hand, whatever. And this is the kind of stuff that I'm excited to also get a hold of a C system accordion or a B system free bass accordion, and try to do stuff and see how doable, how easy, how challenging it is to play this kind of stuff. Mainly because I want a converter instrument. I really want one instrument that I could play free bass and Stradella bass or standard bass accordion on. And if I could get that in a Machino, I would absolutely do that. Let's see, what was the other thing I was going to show? Oh yeah, so this is, I found this online somewhere. It's a fake book of tangos. So the very first one, just the lead sheets. And so this is really fun to play too and to improvise with, because I can practice putting, moving harmonies, that that kind of stuff. And different, fourths in the right hand. And maybe some other like counter mellows. Half step above, E flat 7. Or maybe with a third in the bass. So that's just a D major chord in an open position with a third, which wants to go, we hear that, up to the G. What's up? Maybe I moved too quick. Here. Let's see. Over the F, you can do a diminished. Let's see. Yeah. And then kind of other textures. So instead of something that feels very bassy, I could do maybe a more sustained, like a B flat and a B and an A, which is a really fun dissonant kind of tango here. Maybe a third and seventh, and then up above, a 2/5. Let's see, it would be G minor, and then to like again back to the A and B flat. B flat. From the G. A contrary motion. Here on, well, here. Well, where my mouse is. Let's see. No, G. The 5. Right, that kind of thing underneath. Maybe harmonies, fourths or larger. And then we're gonna go to G major. And then there's all sort of really amazing chromatic. The free bass with the two hands, when you have some structures, fifths or two notes, and then other structures, fourths, upper structure triads, just amazing combinations of sound. Okay, so that's a little bit. Let me check in with chat because I'm looking there. Okay, yeah, you guys think it's beautiful too. So, okay, so then more check-ins of what I've been up to. So I've also been into this partimento stuff, and that's something I've talked about on the live stream in the past, and I just really had to put it aside. I had like no time, to do that on top of everything else. And the partimento, yeah, okay, so there's a question on this tango book. This is what it's called. I probably got it during the pandemic on Scribd, Scribd, however you say that, SCRIBD. This, I would say search for this and see if you can find it as a PDF. I don't know who made it. It doesn't seem like there's any whatever this is, I don't know. And somehow it probably ended up on Scribd, and then I found it and downloaded it. And it's really cool and really fun. And this is very easy to read the way they've written these. And I don't know, I've listened to enough tango that I have like ideas come, Um, so that's really cool. Um, and let's see. Oh yeah, so then this idea of partamento. So I've been listening to it used to be called the Nickel Hogan podcast, and before that it was called like the Partamento podcast, and now it's called the Hogan Music Academy podcast. I don't know. He keeps changing the name, and he just deleted a whole bunch of like videos from YouTube, and I don't know why he did, because they're still right now up on the podcast. Like when you go, if you use like Apple Podcasts or Spotify or whatever. Let me see if it'll come up here under Nickel Hogan. Yeah, so Hogan Music Academy, and I don't know why it says archive. I have no idea what he's planning to do. Okay, no, there's not here. So here, but it's like there was hundreds of episodes, and now there's only like, this is it. This is all that's there, which is a bummer. So I hope that he brings all the other ones back, because it was so amazing. But this cat, Bob Yerdingen, this man who's speaking silently here, that's Bob Yerdingen, and he wrote this book called Child Composers of the Old Conservatories. And this book, I just started reading it. I'm in about the third chapter, and you have to go slow because it's a book on a little bit of history, which is so illuminating and so shockingly illuminating, so interesting. And it's also a workbook on how to play this stuff. So let's see if I can just find a picture. So if you're any person on any instrument that enjoys Baroque music and you play an instrument, you should read this, because it will sort of revolutionize your idea of what is happening in the music and how the composers were trained to do it, how all of these orphans. So one of the facts that I learned that is like wildly fascinating, let me see if I can pull it up because I have it highlighted here. You know what? I won't be able to because it's only in the browser. But basically, the term conservatory, to mean a music conservatory, comes from the fact that in the 1600s, which is before the Baroque era, it's more in the Middle Ages, the Catholic Church, through basically the good works of the religious people, nuns and monks and all that kind of stuff, priests and all that, founded these orphanages. And in the case of these orphanages, people could leave their babies. They talk about this like circular door, basically, that's like a cubby on the outside. So if you're a parent, probably a mother, I don't know, that like can't take care of your baby because it's like the Black Plague, and you're a peasant or a serf or whatever the heck, social caste, for whatever reason, you could put your baby in this little cubby, ring the bell. It would wake up. If it was at night, it would wake up a wet nurse, and they'd turn the thing. The little cubby would turn, and then the church takes care of that baby. And what they did in Italy is they chose to educate them with trades, so metalwork, sewing, leather work, all kinds of stuff, and to be a professional musician. So for decades, professional musicians, many of the best ones in fact, most of the best ones for the first half of the 1700s came from Italy and came from these schools, and in Naples specifically. And he talks about that. And so the word conservatory comes from conservatorio, which means to conserve, which means to conserve the lives of these children without parents, these orphans and foundlings. So literally, the word conservatory comes from the idea of taking in children and helping them, which is so interesting. And then these children were like indentured servants, so they had to sign a contract that said that they would not leave because they were being like invested in, and they got training, ear training, improvisation training on all of this language of the time, this to create church music. It is wildly fascinating. And it's mostly about the actual stuff that they did, and you can do it too. And so I'm starting to play around with it. I want to play you guys one video here that's really cool. It's on my playlist, I'm sure. Oh, here it is. So this is yeah, this is good. This is, we won't watch the whole thing, but this gives you a little taste. So also the book, you have the book, which is fantastic, but it also comes with these whole YouTube playlists narrated by Bob Yerdingen, that we'll hear his lovely voice, and these audio examples and video examples, and he talks more about the topics. So you can do all this stuff.
Video 2.1, the Romanesca Schema. Cimarosa was a composer from Mozart's time. He lost his father when a little boy and was taken in by one of the conservatories. What you see on the screen is the beginning of one of his lessons, which are still preserved in his student notebook. What he saw in his lesson book was what he would play with his left hand at the harpsichord or organ. The Italian masters called it, very simply, down a fourth, up a step. It leaps down from C to G, and then ascends from G to A, and then does that again. Here's what it sounded like, what he would play with his left hand. That is, he played the Romanesca Schema, so called after an old Italian song, and then a closing gesture called a cadence. Now that's what he saw. That wasn't the lesson. The lesson was to complete this as a piece of music with more than one voice. So the first realization or completion would be to add a simple melody. And the simplest one, the one chosen most often, was a descending scale that would start a third above, or an octave and a third above. Here it would be on a high E. Let's listen to what he would play. As mentioned, this was the simplest kind of thing. He could add a second upper melody, an imaginary alto to go a third below the imaginary soprano. A common variation.
So this differs from conventional education of Baroque music in that, well, first of all, the music that we think of, you know, Vivaldi and all that stuff, not necessarily Bach's a little bit later, but especially the Italian school, that music comes from this kind of training. So it wasn't like, well, here's the composition, little child, and learn to play all this music that we wrote out for you. It was, no, here is this chord progression, and here's a bass line. And I'm learning that they thought primarily about lines in a very sort of like Renaissance music sort of way still, and harmonies on top. Yes, canon and B and D, Pirate Rob. Yeah, totally. Yes, this is where all the music comes from. So they're learning all this stuff, and they're learning how to hear it. You know, they're trained to like, okay, here's the melody. Learn this, spit it back out. Now think of another melody that you could add and improvise that, and then it gets further and further into like, I won't go further on it because it's like a subject that could take all 2 hours, and there's a lot of stuff to talk about. But I do want to just share how I'm getting into it. So there's a really cool thing called the Corelli leapfrog as one of these schematas. So this guy Yerdingen, another one of his amazing contributions, and he's still alive. I think he just retired from academia, but he's still lovely and healthy and doing all this stuff. But one of his contributions was to catalog, to find all of the same use of these ideas. So, hey, look, like these chords went this way over, these 100 tunes all had this same kind of Baroque chord progression. I'm going to call it, well, like this one is called the Romanesca. There's the Bergamesca, there's the La Folia, there's the Mi Re Do, there's the there are so many, the Monte and the Fante. There are like many of them, and holy cow, you hear them, and there's fabulous YouTube channels where people have. So he's basically named these things, and some of them are melodic ideas too. So like one that I used yesterday that is just so simple and so beautiful about these voices moving. Well, first, before I go to that one, let me talk about how I've been interacting with this material. So one of the first things that they tell you to do for the partimento, like I paid a bunch of money to this guy Richardus Cochlearius, who's a fascinating character on YouTube, and he has a wonderful channel that he posts all kinds of stuff. He knows this stuff inside and out, and he has some courses, and I bought one of the courses, and it's cool, but you don't get to play very much at all. Like there's like half-hour videos, like 50 half-hour videos that you have to watch on all these things before you get to the end of the course, which is like, here are the partimenti to start working on. And I just got bored. I was like, I can watch all these videos, but not in a row and not before I do that. So I jumped down to the partimenti and I started Googling Fenaroli's Partimenti #1, first book, exercise 1. And Jerdigan's partimenti.org website says, in order to do that, you have to have a command of the rule of the octave. And the rule of the octave is a way of harmonizing a major scale. So I'm going to do it in G. I'll do it in single voice. And they do this for keyboards. So this is a keyboard assignment that the left hand plays the bass and the right hand plays the chords. So G major, D7, G major, C6, D major, F, C6 again, D7, G. So it sounds like this. And then coming down, we have a secondary dominant. So you have G, D, A7 to D. And then, okay, so let me play the whole thing. Make sure you guys all hear the left hand. And then, because I'm kind of like skimming through lots of different stuff, to help me get over obstacles and find answers. So one of the things that I've seen is just start playing, and on the podcast too, these guys say, well, just start moving voices and creating suspensions. So I started doing that. So like in this case, I'll just have the soprano voice move early. What I do wrong? And here. And the same for other voices. So just playing with things that may be period appropriate or may not. So just creating suspensions in other voices. So like if I suspended the bottom voice here. Then here, and let me do this again so you guys can hear the left hand. What would this be? It's a C6. This one becomes here. And it really, I'm taking that stuff around 12 keys. So the basic rule of the octave in this inversion where it starts where it's the inversion where the G is at the top. The root is at the top of the voicing, and that creates a certain flow. And doing that in 12 keys and then just playing around with these different ideas, which I'm finding really helps my ear hear the different voices. It's I don't know how to describe it, but it's like connecting me to this polyphonic um, language, which is really fun. The other thing that I want to show before I move on and out of this to probably the last thing after this, but is this idea of the Corelli leapfrog, which is another Jurdigan named thing. And so my teaching version of this is here. So if we start. Right, just like that. And then they would say, well, you can create like elaborations of it. I'm searching for the word. What is the word where you diminutions? Diminutions. So it's kind of where you make things faster and add embellishments to it. So I'll put it on this. And even just from that simple movement down the major scale in the key of C, we hear so much music there. If you're familiar sort of with, if you've listened to some Baroque music, you're like, holy cow, that sounds like something already. And then we would add, this would all be over a left hand. Let me just show you the website for this guy, Edmar. Yeah, here's the Corelli leapfrog. So this is a very famous scholar and performer, Ewald de Mayer. I'm not sure how you pronounce the last name, but these are actual examples. Let's see, I'll do it here. And this one goes up instead of down. And it's a way of realizing a melody over this left hand. So let's see if I can play that. Probably not that fast. Let's see, it should be. I messed that up. And there are more in different keys and with video examples and stuff. And this is just, it's so much fun. It's so much fun. Okay, so the last thing on my update, and I didn't think this would take an hour, but here it is, and that's fine. We'll spend the next hour all on Puerto Rico and accordeon and bomba and plena and jibaro and Pablo Casals and Bad Bunny, all kinds of really cool stuff. But so finally, I want to show you that I let's see. Let me get to my list of stuff here. I went to a concert. So I'm on the email list for the Bach Choir. Bach Choir is an interesting community choir in the city that I live in called Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, which was the first choir to sing Bach's works in the United States. The Bach Choir has been around for a long-ass time. And it's amateur musicians and some professional musicians, but it's not a paid thing. I mean, I think you have to pay to be a part of it. They hire a professional choir director, artistic director, and it's a austere, lauded cultural organization. It's a thing here. And they had, I got an email that said that they had a fundraiser. They had a fundraiser that was out of my price range because it's a fundraiser. So they're trying to get people that can have funds to donate. So it was $250, and I don't have that to spend on a concert. But I really wanted to go because the program was this pianist Dan Tefner, and he was doing this exact program. He was going to improvise. He was going to play Bach's two-part inventions, and he was going to improvise them as well. And I thought, this is exactly what I'm into. Holy cow, I have to see this. So I found a way to get in, and it was very, very cool. I knew someone who knew someone, and I got in, and I got to watch it from up above. And it was an incredible concert. And I'm just going to hit play because he's going to talk about, Dan will tell you, this is from 1 year ago, and this is one of his programs. So when you're like a major concert artist like this, you have a program of stuff or multiple, and then you can bring that to arts organizations, or your booking agent can do that for you, or in this case, organizations that are doing fundraisers or whatever, and they can choose. So he had a couple different programs that he did, and they chose this one. It's a very common way, and this is probably a promotional video.
Bach composed his inventions, these beautiful study pieces he wrote for his son, 300 years ago. He had 24 possible major and minor keys to choose from, but he only wrote 15 inventions. So it felt to me like he left open a window. In Inventions Reinventions, I play Bach's work as he wrote it, but I improvise new inventions for the 9 missing keys.
And so I'll tell you what, that's what I knew was going to happen, and I expected to hear this galant schemata, the Romanesca, and the Corelli leapfrog and all that sort of stuff. And all this is what I was expecting, and he's about to play an example of his improvisation.
The real subject of this project is storytelling. It all
So that sounds a lot more like Brad Meldau and Keith Jarrett, for example, as sort of vocabulary influences and stuff. Then it does sound like Scarlatti or Bach or Haydn or, Corelli or any of those people. And at first, because he played them all, this is amazing. He played all of, and he's about to talk about how Bach only wrote like 14. There are 24 possible keys because you have C major and C minor, D flat major, D flat minor, D major, D minor. You have all the 12 keys in major and then all the 12 keys again in minor. And in the Well-Tempered Clavier, Bach did write for all 24 key possibilities. But in the two-part inventions, he didn't. And the reason is because they were more learning tools, and those other keys were too challenging and not necessary, all that sort of thing. So for all the keys that existed, like D flat major was the first key that he got to, which is the second, he played the beautiful that's the subject of the first invention in C major, and then immediately D flat, which Bach did not write either invention in D flat major nor in D flat minor, so he improvised them. And at first I was like disappointed, that was my first feeling that I felt, was like, oh man, this is like, not, I was so excited. But as I just listened, what I found was something different that was equally as good and inspiring in another way. I found that, like, to have sort of juxtaposed languages. So you've got the known, of which most of us are probably familiar with at least a few of the inventions, of the two-part inventions. So those are familiar, some of them. And the vocabulary is brilliant, but also familiar, right? And then to hear one of those, and then now two of these in Dan Tefner's vocabulary, and which is not bullshit. Like he is choosing different sonic textures. He's using the pedal a lot more, which you almost never do in Baroque music on the piano, or I guess it's like your school of thought, but usually not. So anyway, just very different sonic, and going into all this, it was a lot more tonal, even modal, but using other weird modes and then borrowing language from other like more contemporary classical influences, all kinds of stuff. And this guy is just brilliant. So that was so cool. I just want to show, he has all these wonderful videos. He does a lot of this visualization stuff. I think he's really known for this visualization. I want to show you this video. Where is that? Where's the one where he's... Can I not find it now? Let's see. Videos. He has this video of visualizing harmony in this three-dimensional space that is really interesting. Let me see if I can go to popular, see if it's one of the...
So sometimes I fall into a rabbit hole. And
he's a programmer. He's able to work with all these algorithms and program all these like programs and sort of AI things that like he can perform with and are feeding him back notes and are playing along with him and against him. Anyways, and he's just super thoughtful and exploratory in his ideas. So anyway, that's enough of that, and we're at the hour mark. So I'm going to sort of wrap that out. Let me go to my notes. I did a good job of outlining what I wanted to talk about. Yeah, okay, so that's all this stuff. So Dan Tefner, and that was so cool just to see. The last thing that I want to say about it, the thing that he did was he played nonstop with no speaking. Once he started, he spoke very eloquently and so brilliantly for like a general audience. He talked about how the standard 3 movement narrative arc that we have in literature and theater and film and stuff, you know, is like the main character starts out at a place of safety, and then they go very far away, and there's trouble, and then it comes back home but changed, right, and safe again. And so he much more eloquently gave a wonderful sort of small introduction there, and then he played nonstop. And some of them, it felt like he just took a breath and then right into the next one. And a couple, it felt like he took 3 breaths. But it was a Herculean effort especially to go, because in his improvising, he always came up with a short subject. A subject is an often used term in Baroque music, especially in fugues and polyphony, where you have like a small idea that then gets repeated in another voice, the same idea, and that voice goes to the counter subject, and then you have the elaboration and all that kind of stuff. And he did that for every single key that he improvised in. He had a clear subject. It wasn't just noodling around. It was taking a theme, creating a new theme. You know, and I'm sure there are similarities to the things he's played. That's just how music is. We have a vocabulary. It still was amazing. And to go through that and to do that, and then, okay, now I play what Bach wrote in D major. Here we go. Just right into it. And so beautiful. So with such amazing dynamics that even after that, maybe 90 minutes of music, I don't even know how long it was, but it was a while, nonstop, tons of notes. I and the person I went with did not feel fatigued at the end of it. You know, like, oh wow, you know, like when you hear a lot of shit, you're just like, okay, I need to listen to the ocean or something way different, you know. After that, it did not feel like that. It felt just, and that's, I think, the result of his amazing ability to create peaks and valleys and emotional crescendos and shape everything, like his touch and these things that I associate with classical musicianship and not as much with jazz musicianship, because it's sort of a different thing. The use of dynamics is different a lot of times in ensemble playing, and even when you're just playing through a tune. Anyways, it was really, really inspirational. Alrighty. Okay, so that wraps that up. So now, on to the subject of today. And I'm getting some text messages. Okay, lovely. So the subject for today is, I kind of messed that up. It's Soundwaves of Puerto Rico, accordion, Bad Bunny, Pablo Casals, folklórico, all kinds of stuff. Mike Siaka, have a wonderful day. Thanks for checking in, man. All right, so let's get to this. Let me just find my browser here. So yeah, so on today I want to talk about Puerto Rico. Bad Bunny is going to be playing the Super Bowl, and the federal government has decided to put an army of either ICE agents or troops outside, which is really bizarre. I don't know why. I can only think that it's racist. I mean, I don't understand what risk there is there. I think Bad Bunny has maybe publicly spoken about having different opinions than the federal government does, and that doesn't seem to warrant doing that. Feels like intimidation, which feels messed up, man. So let's get into this. The first thing I want to do is just listen to some awesome accordion music from Puerto Rico. It was hard for me to find all the stuff, but here we go. Let's listen to a few things. I'm probably gonna. We only have an hour, and I have to go to a gig, so I'm gonna have to stop pretty quickly at the top of the hour. But if I stop prematurely in a video, it's not because I don't think it's amazing. It's just because I want to get to more stuff. So here's just some stuff. This is cool. Look at this guy. He's playing a chromatic button accordion. How cool. Okay, so if we start to understand what's going on, there was a theme, and just singing it, you can sing along with me. If we try to just sing as a way to copy is always our first step. Oops, I hit the wrong button, sorry. Okay, something like that. La bo bo be bo bo ba la la bo you bo do do dum la bum bum bim bum. Sounds like it was 4 to the 3, or kind of a 1 over 3. 2, 1, 4, 3, 1. And then it becomes a little dominant sort of thing. Dum da do day. Dum bum ba 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 5 1. So that's the concise small chord progression. And then now once the vocal melody comes in, what does the accordion do? So this case we're watching a chromatic button accordion, which is, the same on the inside. It does all the same things as a piano accordion if you play piano accordion like I do. So easier to kind of copy, which is cool. But when we get to listening to the diatonic button accordions, we want to think about copying them too, as a way of just getting closer to understanding what's going on. And so we're going to sing it the same way. So it's boop bap boop bip boom, kind of boop bap boop bap boom. Is almost like what the accordion player is doing. Boop bap boop bum bum bum. Okay, let's look at something else. Let's look at another one. So what I have learned is that there's merengue típica, which I think Dominican Republic claims as their invention and a major music there in the Dominican Republic, but it's also very popular with accordion players and listeners and dancers and all sorts of people in Puerto Rico. So I found a lot of Puerto Rican accordion players playing merengue típica, which is a certain kind of merengue that's a little bit more folkloric and not so created on a computer with subtone bass and all this kind of cool stuff, like super contemporary music.
Oigo si me consuelo que queda un grupo pequeño defendiendo con empeño.
So that sounds like the 5 of the key that we're in, and then it's going to go to the 1 of the key. And similar to the other style, it's the melodic style, if we think about trying to understand that, just in ways that we don't have to have an instrument, but it's like you have a grouping of like a little bit, like a small phrase, and then there's space where the accordion kind of comes through, and then another short phrase.
Nuestras viejas tradiciones llevando a todos rincones el folclore puertorriqueño llevando a...
Okay, cool. Let's watch a little bit more. Let's see. There's an awesome playlist that I have here. Where is that playlist? It's here. Oh yeah, this is really good. So I'm gonna jump to other stuff. Like we're gonna watch some history of Puerto Rico and music and African diaspora rhythms and all that sort of stuff. But I thought it would be fun to just watch a few of these. Let's see. This one, I tried to look up this place, Jayuya, and help me with the pronunciation, guys. Jayuya Barbershop, of which there are multiples, and Jayuya is a region of Puerto Rico. This could be there. There's also one in Austin, Texas, and one in Chicago. So I'm not sure where this is. But anyway, we have accordeon, and aguinaldo is a kind of music that is around Christmas. So it's a kind of like Christian Christmas music that's played around Christmas to celebrate. And it's a Puerto Rican thing. And I read, the internet told me it's also a Venezuelan thing. And I don't know, it could be very likely other Latin Caribbean countries. I just don't know. But I'm definitely going to ask my Puerto Rican friends when I see them next, what do you know about aguinaldo music? You know what? Actually, I think I recognized this person from this article that I read about the place in Austin, Texas. So I think this might be the place in Austin, Texas. Okay, let's check out another one. Let's see. Oh yeah, this one's really good. A little bit more. Here's a video that I found that's really fun. So this is a bunch of piano accordion players and an accordion orchestra in Puerto Rico. Seis chorreo por orquesta. 6 like chorreo? I'm not sure what a chorreo is. Is that like a chorro? I'm not even sure. And this is their little accordion orchestra. And flute, percussion. How fun
today,
is
and you
that?
don't have.
Isn't that so cool? All right. Okay, so there's many more awesome accordion videos, but let's kind of vary this with a little bit of history. So here's a short history, because I'll tell you what, I just, I'm just like honest. I try to like let my ego go about what I don't know and just be like, I didn't know that. And so only a couple of years ago did I learn, hanging out with somebody from Puerto Rico, that Puerto Rican people are U.S. citizens. I didn't know that until a few years ago, and probably because living here, I grew up in Southern California, where the Spanish-speaking population that I was around everywhere in Southern California is much more from Mexico and Central America. And I didn't know probably too many. I can't think of the Puerto Rican people that I knew there. So anyways, and this is in the news too, around, citizenship and all this kind of stuff is in the news, and who has rights and who doesn't, and what can be done to them, and all that stuff. So anyway, so here's a short, this is from the History Channel, so it might be well researched. One thing that I learned also, that I put in the email that I sent out, is Puerto Rican people, they're U.S. citizens, but they do not have the right to vote for the president of the United States. Which might be why, they're disenfranchised. They don't have any political power in that respect.
The Caribbean island of Puerto Rico is an unincorporated territory or commonwealth of the United States. This basically means its status is somewhere between being a state and being an independent nation. Puerto Ricans are citizens of the United States, but if they live on the island of Puerto Rico, they can't vote in U.S. federal elections. To better understand the current status of Puerto Rico, we need to look back through centuries of history. Puerto Rico's native population is called Taíno, and their hunter-gatherer ancestors settled the island, calling it Boricuan, 1,000 years before the Spanish arrived. Native people called themselves Boricua, which is a phrase still used today. In 1493, Christopher Columbus's second voyage led him to the island, and he claimed it for Spain. Then, in 1508, Ponce de Leon founded the first European settlement, Capara, on the island's northern shore. In 1521, Capara was renamed Puerto Rico, meaning rich coast, which then became the name for the whole island. The capital became San Juan, which is still the capital today. For nearly 400 years under Spanish rule, Puerto Rico would produce cattle, sugarcane, coffee, and tobacco. To cultivate these commodities, the Spanish brought enslaved Africans and forced them to work under brutal conditions. But Spanish rule of the island eventually came to an end. In 1898, the USA was victorious in the 4-month Spanish-American War. Spain ceded Puerto Rico, Cuba, the Philippines, and Guam, which all became U.S. territories. Under U.S. rule, Puerto Rico continued its plantation economy, with sugar being the main crop. But the economy faced changes in 1920, when in the wake of World War I, the Jones Act made goods expensive to transport to and from Puerto Rico, which made prices generally higher on the island. In the 1940s, the U.S. began Operation Bootstrap, a series of economic initiatives to industrialize Puerto Rico's economy. The initiatives were successful. Cheap labor and tax laws attracted American manufacturers. Today, Puerto Rico is a leading producer of high-tech equipment and American pharmaceuticals. Puerto Rico underwent many political changes as well. In 1900, the Foraker Act required all U.S. laws apply to Puerto Rico and also established a civilian government. The President of the United States appointed a governor and executive council, and citizens of Puerto Rico were able to elect 35 members of its own House of Representatives, as well as 1 member of Congress. That member, however, does not have the right to vote on the federal laws governing the island. Puerto Rico officially became a Commonwealth in 1948, and ever since, the future of Puerto Rico's status has been up for debate. Should it stay a Commonwealth, become an American state, or become an independent nation? 3 separate votes to answer that question have happened on the island in 1967, 1993, and 1998, and they all reaffirmed Puerto Rico's Commonwealth status.
So there you go. All right, let's watch a little bit of this one. It's 12 minutes. We're not going to watch the whole thing.
An island paradise in the Caribbean, once ruled by Spain and then to the United States,
Welcome to stunning Puerto Rico. Join us as we unravel its past and explore its culture and its people. Puerto Rico's earliest population was made up of Arawak Indians who arrived on the island approximately 1,000 years ago. They developed the Taíno culture prevalent to many of the Caribbean island nations during that era. They named the island of what is now Puerto Rico as Borinquen and were able to ward off many attacks from their Carib neighbors. The local population thrived by fishing, hunting, and farming. By the time the Spanish arrived in 1493, there were around 20 to 50,000 local inhabitants in...
Okay, I'm going to move us to another thing. So
I'm in one of the most...
this is another interesting thing about Puerto Rico, that there's an island right off of Puerto Rico that is part of Puerto Rico that has been bombed by the U.S. Navy for decades and decades, constantly.
beautiful places in the Caribbean. This is the island of Vieques, which is in Puerto Rico. But what you can't see are the thousands of active explosives left behind here by the U.S. Navy. That's because for decades, the Navy trained for war by bombing this island. And the way they're going about cleaning up their toxic mess is actually hurting the locals and the environment.
Okay, let's bounce to another one. Okay, so yeah, let's check this one out. Okay.
When is dancing a protest?
When it's bomba.
Bomba is a traditional genre of music and dance from Puerto Rico and has made an appearance at many recent Black Lives Matter protests.
In bomba, dancing and protest are inextricably linked. Surprised? Once you understand the music, it makes perfect sense.
So now that we know bomba's influence today, let's talk about where it came from. And to do
I do want to point out that this video, let's see, let me move this, is Soundfield, which is a PBS thing. And in May, Trump, via executive order, completely defunded, removed all the funding for PBS and NPR.
that, we have to go back about 400 years. Last year, our friends from If Cities Could Dance traveled to Puerto Rico and filmed this footage for their episode on bomba dancing. Make sure you check out that episode on their channel.
Bomba was developed in the 16th century by enslaved Africans in Puerto Rico. Enslaved communities would gather to make music, using rhythms and dance to express themselves. They told stories, shared news, communicated revolts, and connected with each other. This process of gathering through bomba was known as bambula, a practice of re-remembrance, re-remembering where you came from and your own sense of humanity. In other words, they created culture and affirmed their humanity, and that is a powerful form of resistance.
How would you describe bomba to people who haven't heard it before, or who haven't heard of it even?
So bomba is the oldest genre of Puerto Rico, tracing back to our African roots. It tells the story of our ancestors. Mm-hmm. It is meant for healing. It is a time-traveling genre. And it's black music.
Yes.
Bomba's roots largely come from Africa, but like so much of Latinx culture, is a blending of elements from many regions. While most bomba songs are in Spanish, some have words and phrases in other languages, including Haitian Creole and Kikongo. The use of long ornate skirts as bomba costumes also shows incorporation of Spanish influences in bomba today. The Taíno were the indigenous people of Boriquen, their name for the island that is now Puerto Rico. That's also the reason many Puerto Ricans prefer the term Boricua. Taíno influence in bomba shows up in terms like bate, which refers to the dance space.
The use of a single gourd-based maraca also shows Taíno influence. The maraca is used to keep time, and is often played by the singer. Guas are sticks, often played against the side of a barril, or the drum used for bomba. Can you talk about the significance of the barril or the drum in bomba, and like why this specific drum is used?
The barril, I would say in Spanish, but in English it's barrel. It's made out of a barrel. So it's made out of a rum barrel, cheese barrel, whiskey barrels, like whatever type of barrel you could think of, it's made from that. That's what we had when those enslaved Africans came from the motherland into the Caribbean.
Yeah.
And then they needed their resources because they had all these rhythms, so they used their resources that they had. And what we use when it comes to the skins, it's goat skin.
Yes.
So now we're talking about a type of drum that relates to the djembe family.
Yes.
All those African-based
Absolutely.
drumming.
So
there's a ton of stuff to cover, so we're not going to watch this 11-minute video, but I found a cool YouTube Shorts video with a percussionist showing us 3 bomba rhythms, ritmos de bomba. And let's see, copy link and throw this in here. So this is a nice place to segue over to that.
Tres ritmos básicos de la bomba puertorriqueña. Sica.
Sica.
Juba.
Juba. Which that sounds a lot like the tu-tu-pa-tu, tu-tu-pa-tu, tu-tu-pa-tu of the chamamé. Or was it Huayno? No, it was chamamé, right?
Cuembe. Y estos son.
There we go. Okay, so much fun. We should click her channel and see. Let's watch her do her thing. This looks cool. I want to see her. Whoa, and she plays clarinet and saxophone too. Let's do... Wow. I just want to see her perform. Popular.
La voz. Un primo que está improvisando.
Okay. Well, let's... Cool. Very cool. All right. So back to the playlist that I had. So after this, then we only have half an hour left. I can't believe it. Time flies. Okay. So this is a cool note. Another one. Ecos de Borinquen. Smithsonian Folkways. El alma de Puerto Rico.
Y de mi tierra caliente, hay calientes raíces de democracia.
Towns in the mountain region. That's where música jíbara is strongest. But
okay, so this is música jíbara, which when I just typed and searched and used ChatGPT to help me do research and all sorts of things in Google, música jíbara was a common thing that I came up with as far as where accordion is found in the music. I don't think accordion is so much in the bomba of Puerto Rico. And it's not, it's because it's so new relative to these, thousands of years old folk traditions and stuff. But anyways, and the genre that I mentioned called aguinaldos, those are, I think, related to jíbara.
It's all over. It's all over, really. The gatherings of my family members and seeing my father and my uncle play, those were my first contact with Puerto Rican music. And just to see how all the family was brought together, it's a life force for me, I feel very much at home. Okay, it's a life force. It's the passion. It'll never leave me. We are recording native Puerto Rican music, authentic Puerto Rican music.
Dios bendice mi bandera de mi patria al corazón, con la fuerza de razón la defiendo donde quiera. Nuestra enseña es la lumbrera que flota en el alto pico, el más bello abanico de armiño azul.
Just absolutely beautiful. Okay, let's go here. the description is telling me that this is merengue. Merengue.
Teresa la panadera trabaja con alegría. Teresa la panadera trabaja con alegría, siempre repartiendo el pan. Por la noche y por el día, siempre repartiendo el pan. Por la noche y por el día, pan, pan, panadero, pan. En la calle de San Juan, pan, pan, panadero, pan. En la calle de San Juan, pan, pan, panadero, pan. En la calle de San Juan, pan, pan, panadero, pan. En la calle de San Juan.
Okay, now Jibaro. Okay, so Aguinaldo Jibaro. So this is these videos are what made me think that like Aguinaldo is related to Jibaro, and Jibaro we were just learning about. I couldn't find a good English language video, but it's Jibaro is culture from the mountains of Puerto Rico. And here's this guy who's like, I just think it's cool, you know, to see like the great, amazing virtuosic artists and then people that are just doing it, because it helps us see like sort of the craft. So he's going to be playing along with a backing track or a recording. So we can really see like what is the role of the accordion. So he's ba 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 da ba ba da ba ba bum bum. Okay, so bum bum ba bum. That sounds like la ti do la sol do ba re. Re, so back to the la. So re, re sharp. So it's like if this was, what key is this in? We'll call it for the major key. It's like an F major. So it's like D, C, F, G, G sharp, A, and A is like the dominant that's going to take us back to D minor. D minor, C7, F major, da dum. I guess there's no sharp there, it's just F, G, A. But the A is the dominant of D. There's that walk up, the chromatic. It's like a diminished kind of thing. 2 sharp, 2 diminished, 3, but that's actually the 5 of the minor key. And it's arpeggios, a lot like what I think of like as a montuno in salsa music. Let me throw on an accordion here. So just, you know, to not only watch, but also to like bridge the gap by trying to figure out what he's doing and learn it. You know, learn by ear, learn by eyes. I'm on Machino. What's the first melody? Da dee da bum. But he's up here. La ba dee bum. something like that. Which is, the first one was up a D minor, and then down like an A7. If that's close to the notes he played. Okay, so let's check out a piano accordion. So this is a parranda. Parranda is a party. Parranda is a party. It sounds like the same tune.
Transmitiendo desde el bajo La Plena de Salinas. Una linda estrella igual a tres magos. Una linda estrella igual a tres magos. Y ellos con halagos iban tras de ella. Su brillo les enseña para ellos guiar. El rey Baltasar le dijo a Melchor, es el creador.
All right, cool. That's good. So we got more stuff to talk about. Let's what else is here? Okay. So like the kind of ideas of montuno, that's also salsa music. And another thing to include on this live stream about the entire, island of Puerto Rico and all its like thousands of years of history is salsa music. And salsa music in New York City, as we know it, is a combination of the influences of Puerto Rican music and Cuban music and others, but primarily those two. And some of the most famous salsa musicians of the 60s and 70s, Fania Records and stuff, are Puerto Ricans. And that's like when I was in college, I really wanted to play tons of salsa piano, and I was in some salsa groups in LA. And that's where I got turned on to this band called Papo Luca y la Sonora Ponceña. And Papo Luca is an amazing pianist. His feel is like so sick. Let's check out Papo Luca, which I have. Oh yeah, well here's a tune of his called Soy Jibaro, which is this culture we were talking about. But I want us to go straight to Papo Luca because and watch some video of him. And there's an amazing jazz pianist named oh geez, now I can't think of his name. From Cuba. Why am I blanking on his name? It's gonna come to me. Dude. Okay, sorry. All right, let's check out this duel. Piano duel between Richie Ray and Papo Luca. This is Papo Luca with the glasses and the goatee.
¿Qué pasó? No se oye esa clave, familia. ¡Eva! Oye, gracias.
Oh, he's doing. So anyway, Papo Luca is like super famous. If you play salsa piano at all, you know about Papo Luca, and he's on your Mount Rushmore of like greatest pianists of all time in the genre. I think Eddie Palmieri too is from Puerto Rico. Check this out, like 90,000 views on this. Just a compilation of Papo Luca's piano solos is so cool. I don't want to spend a ton of time there. But anyway, very, very, very cool stuff. Get back to my playlist of things here. Let's see. Papo Luca. What's the other things? Well, okay, we may as well go to Bad Bunny now because we have about 15 minutes left. So Bad Bunny is in the news. He is a huge, outside my house, we hear Bad Bunny blasting out of cars in our neighborhood all the time. Bad Bunny is a majorly huge popular artist. And let's see, where are the Bad Bunny videos that I had saved? So here's Bad Bunny on Trump has defunded NPR back in May of this year. So rest in peace, NPR, unless they get donors from other places. But anyway, this is NPR music. This is Tiny Desk, which we love on the live stream. We love Tiny Desk. I hope Tiny Desk does not go away because they're such an amazing thing. But here's Bad Bunny from April of this year on Tiny Desk. We'll just listen a little bit. And what Tiny Desk is, it's almost like, remember MTV Unplugged? Anybody that's of that generation? I just spit on the camera. Sorry, that's gross. Anyways, MTV Unplugged was like where you had, the people would... I think... Hey, John, I'm pretty sure Chucho Valdez is from Cuba, but I could be wrong. Let's check that out. And Eddie Palmieri while we're listening to Bad Bunny. But anyways, this is Bad Bunny's. But so Tiny Desk is like acoustic versions usually of like pop artists and stuff. Or that's a lot of what it is. It's really cool. As an instrumental musician.
En la que te pedí, otra Navidad que no estás aquí. Feliz año nuevo, pero no tan feliz. Te dieron un beso a las 12 y no fui yo quien te lo di. Hace un año que yo estuve ahí, hace un año que yo estuve ahí. Hace un año tu primer abrazo fue solo pa' mí. Me tenía en las nubes y como un rayo caí. Y ahora ni una llamada, ni un solo mensaje. Los brothers me la montan, dicen que estoy en un viaje. Son las 12:04 y ya estoy bien loco, llorando y bebiendo pitorro de coco que me trajo abuelo pa' que vacilara, no pa' que por un cuero a las 12 llorara. Se me olvidó empezar a rap.
Bum, 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 bum. Sounds like a very similar chord progression to the plena, to the other. I didn't mean to do that. Sorry. Dang it. And I forget that musician's name, but she has her own Tiny Desk concert.
Ten cuidado, Fabiola, ten cuidado.
And that's the Quattro, which they also play in Cuba. So cool, so cool. So yeah. Let's see. All right. Bum, boop, boop, boom. Let's see. One moment. So okay, El Apagón. Let's check out this Vogue video.
Siempre fui un niño de mucha.
He's a pop star. So pop stars, they have fashion and super high production, and they make tons of money, and they fly over the world, and they have huge audiences.
Imaginación. Quisiera salirme de mi cabeza así y ver todo lo que yo he pensado. Cuando de chiquito me iba en mi viaje imaginario y me imaginaba en tal escenario, en una lucha libre o estar en películas. No sé si fue normal que se cumpliera, pero mi hambre no ha sido de adquirir más fama o de adquirir más popularidad o ser el más grande en esto. Mi hambre siempre ha sido
This is,
artística
my
y
hunger has always been
personal.
artistic and personal. It's not about being rich and famous. I'll just narrate in case you're
A que
walking
huele
around your
Puerto
house.
Rico, huele
What does
a...
Puerto Rico smell like? It smells like...
Huele a Caribe, huele
smells
a
like
mar.
the Caribbean,
Siempre
like
que
the
voy a la
ocean.
playa
Every time I go to the beach, I get good
llegan
ideas. I
buenas
love he's
ideas.
getting a manicure. A little bird. Okay. This is like for deep fans of Bad Bunny. Let's check out some of these other videos. Okay, so there's a little cultural stuff, and we'll listen to some of Bad Bunny's music too. There are songs that are important. I mean, he's, you know, he talks about gender expression. He talks about cultural pride, social issues.
Something unprecedented is happening in Puerto Rico. Its hottest megastar, Bad Bunny, is putting the island on the map as one of the hottest global destinations this summer. And it's not just causing a cultural phenomenon. His residency could be shaping the future of the island's struggling economy. Here's Christian De La Rosa.
On an island still reeling from hurricanes, blackouts, and a bankrupt economy.
This is something big. It's a historical event.
Global Puerto Rican superstar Bad Bunny's summer residency in his homeland is now open to fans from around the world.
Where are you coming from? From California.
Switzerland, Suiza.
De Colombia.
Tickets to the first shows were reserved only for residents of Puerto Rico. Now, locals are expecting hundreds of thousands will be pouring into the small island over the next few weeks to see the Latin music icon in concert. Benito, how he's affectionately known here, sings to his bouncing beats in Spanish. His lyrics, often racy, also allude to the at times harsh realities of living here. The 31-year-old becoming an ambassador of his culture, elevating traditional Jíbaro peasant dresses and
Jíbaro, there it is again.
Straw hats or pavas. That's okay. As symbols of Puerto Rican pride.
See, now we understand these references.
Love what he stands for.
It's about, you know, people, unity, and culture.
It can bring people a lot of emotion even if they don't understand Spanish.
Local projections show the Bad Bunny residency will inject $215 million to the island's economy.
Okay, that's less interesting, but great for the island's economy. We love that. Let's just check out a couple other snippets. This is not the greatest. It's kind of like slap tube.
Tirar más fotos.
It's not slap tube. It's just...
Sixth solo studio album by Puerto Rican rapper and singer Bad Bunny is a deeply personal and reflective project that cements his legacy as one of the most innovative and emotionally resonant artists of his generation. Released on January the 5th, 2025, through Rimas Entertainment, it follows the groundbreaking Nadie sabe lo que va a pasar mañana, but takes a markedly different approach. With DTMF, Bad Bunny turns the lens inward, delivering a heartfelt exploration of memory, identity, and the passage of time. The album feels like a love letter to his homeland of Puerto Rico, celebrating its beauty, culture, and people, while grappling with the complexities of fame and personal growth. In this breakdown, we'll explore how Debí Tirar Más Fotos continues to redefine Bad Bunny's artistry and why it's poised to be remembered as one of his most impactful works to date.
When Bad Bunny dropped Debí Tirar Más Fotos, I didn't know what to expect. His last album was bold and experimental, but this one feels completely different. It's intimate, reflective, and deeply rooted in memory. And I'm gonna be honest, before this album, my main exposure to Bad Bunny was through the headlines, his music, his personality, and yeah, his relationship with Kendall Jenner. But this project feels like we're seeing who he really is. And this album is a reflection of his love for Puerto Rico, his frustration with the changes it's facing, and his desire to preserve the memories and the culture that shaped him.
This is a really beautiful... So I came across this really cool short film that's part of this record, and it's so cool. And there's this little frog that's Bad Bunny and like this old man. I suggest if any of this is interesting to you, check it out. A very cool little video. Let's listen to this tune, El Apagón.
A nosotros nos sale natural ser leyenda.
porque al final no hay orgullo más.
Here we go.
Con mucho cariño para todos ustedes.
Puerto Rico está bien cabrón, ey, está bien cabrón. De Carolina sale el reggaetón y los hijueputas de Bayamón, ey, ey. Quieren montarse en la ola y no han ido a rincón. Un besito pa' abuela en el balcón, cogiendo todos los hoyos en la Rubicón. P.R. Ey, tierra de Maelo y Teo Calderón. Y de Barea, el que fue campeón. Primero que Lebrón. Maldita sea, otro apagón. Vamos pa' los bleachers a prender un blon. Antes que a Pipo le dé un bofetón. Puerto Rico está bien cabrón, ey, está bien cabrón. Puerto Rico está bien cabrón, ey, ey. Pichea Maldiva, yo me quedo en Palomino, ey. Si no me voy pa' redes, un saludo a mis vecinos, ey. Aquí el calor es diferente, el sol está ahí, no, ey. La capital del perreo, ahora todos quieren ser latinos, no, ey. Pero le falta sazón, batería y reggaetón, ey, ey. Cuido con mi corillo que somos un montón, ey, ey. Le falta sazón, batería y reggaetón, ey, ey. Cuido con mi corillo que somos un montón. Welcome to the calentón.
¿Y este frío cuándo se acaba?
Nueva York.
Si te quieres divertir con encanto y con primor, solo tienes que vivir un verano en Nueva York. Nueva York.
So, a love letter to New York. Okay, as we're coming up on the end. So that is Bad Bunny, who is not a bad person. You saw the fans, the message about love and unity and connection and coming together and all that sort of stuff. And Bad Bunny is definitely a champion for democracy and different gender expressions and sexualities and all that kind of stuff that we care about on this podcast. I don't know why the move is to throw a bunch of scary federal agents around his performance at Super Bowl. I have no idea. It doesn't make any sense at all. Makes no sense. Okay, so to finish up the live stream, I wanted to make sure that I talked about Pablo Casals because he's is a major factor. Pablo Casals, we did the Pablo Casals book club. We learned about his beautiful ideas. He's so famous as one of the great cello soloists of the 20th century, probably of all time, of all recorded time, and also a major humanitarian. And I wanted to watch a little bit of this. So his deal is Pablo Casals. I have this up here. I want to share this with you. I'm going to recite from the Pau Casals. That's another way of calling him instead of Pablo, Pau. And so I'm just going to read this 3-paragraph biography about Pablo Casals. So Pablo Casals was one of the most influential musicians of the 20th century. Cellist, conductor, composer, humanist, and staunch fighter for freedom and democracy. His legacy makes him one of the most widely recognized names in music and peace. We spent a lot of time on Pablo Casals and his book and his ideas, and we didn't talk too much about his humanitarian and peace efforts. We mentioned it because it's a huge part of his life, but we didn't talk that much about it. Today we are going to talk a little bit about it in the remaining minutes we have of the podcast, but continue reciting from this website. That is the foundation of Pablo Casals. Okay, so at the age of 23, Pablo Casals enjoyed success in Paris at the hands of the great conductor Charles Lamoureux, beginning a brilliant career as a soloist that led him to play in the best concert halls in the world. In 1914, with the outbreak of the First World War, he moved to New York, where he continued his concert tours. In 1919, he returned to Barcelona and founded the Pau Casals Orchestra, which he conducted until 1936. With the outbreak of the Spanish Civil War and Francisco Franco's victory in 1939, he fled to Prades, France, where he spent the first years of exile. And from 1957 onwards, he lived in San Juan, Puerto Rico, where he died in 1973 at the age of 96. And then it says in 1979, with the return of democratic institutions in Spain, and in accordance with his wishes, his remains were transferred to the cemetery in his hometown of El Vendrell. So now we're going to watch a little bit of a short documentary on the Franco dictatorship, which is like totalitarian fascist dictatorships, scarily similar to what is going on in this country right now.
The Franco dictatorship. In 1939, once the Spanish Civil War had ended, a military dictatorship was set up in Spain, over which General Franco held all the power, as reflected in the fundamental laws of the kingdom, where he was the head of state and government, head of the army, and head of the only political party, the Falange. The Franco dictatorship lasted for 36 years until
there was only one political party.
His death in 1975. Francoism, the name given to the dictatorship of General Franco, was underpinned by three ideological pillars. Traditionalism, an ideology which was conservative in character, characterized by the defense of institutions like the church, the family, order, and propriety. Anti-communism, a rejection of political parties, especially those of a Marxist ideology. The Catholic religion as the root of the Spanish nation, and centralism as the operational structure of the state. In the first years of Francoism, all these ideological values were enforced by the Spanish Falange, also known as the National Movement, which was the only official political party. The Falange was founded by José Antonio Primo de Rivera in 1933. In 1939, it represented the political arm of the Franco regime. However, from 1945 onwards, it began to lose political influence in favor of other groups, such as the military, the traditionalists, or the technocrats. Concerning foreign affairs, the Franco dictatorship adapted itself to the evolution of the international situation.
Okay, so this is getting deep in the woods, but this is the condition of government that led Pablo Casals to flee his home country and fight and make a voice against fascism, against this anti-democratic thing that was going on. And the United Nations UNESCO, which the ATG is part of. It's a UNESCO, or no, the ATG is part of Coupe Mondiale, and Coupe Mondiale is recognized by UNESCO as a great cultural thing to be protected and known about in the world. But they created a Pablo Casals chair that does all kinds of anti-war, peace stuff, democracy. Here it is, the Pau Casals UNESCO chair. And it's academic, and it's for governmental think tanks and researchers and stuff who for whom this is important, as well as to do humanitarian efforts to help people that are at war be recognized and get help and aid. Anyway, we're gonna end on this last a little bit of this festival in Puerto Rico, and I'm gonna try to say some positive, kind words to help us not feel so grossed out and freaked out. So if I remember correctly, this is a Canadian documentary that is following a Canadian opera singer on her trip to perform in the festival in Puerto Rico, Pau Casals Festival. Yeah, here it is. These old videos look so cool. Oh, now video. Old film.
It is Puerto Rico's 4th annual Casals Festival.
When they booked me for it, they said, oh, well, now we would like a real outstanding program.
By late June, the evenings are sweltering. Even with air conditioning at full capacity, the heat is uncomfortable. The humidity concerns the musicians more seriously. It affects their instruments. Tonight's guest artist is Maureen Forrester, renowned contralto.
I gotta pause it and say that yes, Ed, that's such an amazing quote. So Ed in the chat said, at age 90, a friend asked Pau Casals when Casals was 90 years old, why do you still practice every day? Why do you still practice scales every day? And Pablo Casals says, because I think I'm making progress. I'm still making progress.
The concert will be broadcast throughout Latin America, televised, recorded, and filmed.
We gotta hear some music. And then I'll end the screen. Went too far.
Hymn to the Madonna by Domenico Scarlatti, a setting of the Salve Regina. 200 years ago, the hymn was lost. The manuscript was only recently discovered, and this is to be its second known performance. Station WIPR San Juan carries the concert to another festival audience.
Good. That's the moment that I was trying to leave on. I feel a little emotional. I want to wish people that are living in the occupied places of Chicago and Portland to be safe. I want us to be reminded of that the beautiful music, all the music and life and spirit that we saw, that we carry within ourselves, you know, is the result of freedom and loving our friends and neighbors and caring for each other. And humanity belongs to all of us, you know. This is a nation of immigrants. It always has been. With that, I will sign off for the week. Thank you for joining me. I'll be back next Tuesday. I still don't know. I keep talking about this left-hand episode. I don't know if that's what I'll do or not. I know we're going to do a spooky episode on the last week of this month and lots more fun stuff. So thank you guys all so much. Be safe. Do good things for yourself and for your friends.